Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you, Chiara.
The first question I want to ask to you is the fact that you were appointed CEO 3 weeks ago. So how do you feel about joining Bata?
I'm excited and honored to join Bata. It's a company with a great history, with an iconic brand, with a very strong footprint in many parts of the world. And I think it's a great business opportunity going forward. But more importantly, I think I love shopping and I love shoes. So that mix between a company culture, the industry it is in, as well as the iconicity of the brand, make the mix very exciting for me.
You know that every leader has a specific set of beliefs. Can you tell us what are yours?
I have several beliefs, but there are four which I've always carried throughout my career. And I'm going to go through them one by one. The first one is I believe in discipline. Discipline is something which is important. And as I worked in Procter & Gamble, then I worked at Heineken, then I did a little bit of consulting with McKinsey, I've come to notice that in general, and it's not very scientific, but all else being equal, the difference between a disciplined organization and an undisciplined organization is 5 margin points. And that's good to have. And discipline comes in different components. You have, first of all, what I call strategic discipline, which means after the company sets up a strategy, it is important that that strategy, other than it needs to be a good one, it needs to be properly communicated, and people have to live it in everything that they do. Because often companies can come up with good strategies, but then they put them in a drawer and continue running their business like they've always had. The difference between great companies and average companies are those which are disciplined on executing their strategies. In reality, most of the time strategies are criticized when they haven't even been executed properly, and that is something we shouldn't do. The second element of discipline which is important is what I call operational discipline. Essentially, it's delivering business results in a consistent way. And the second thing is doing what you say, saying what you do, being reliable, being an entity one can count on. This is what I call operational discipline. And the third one is organizational discipline, which is respecting a company's governance, being clear on who makes decisions on what, respecting reporting lines. The idea is not to be rigid or hierarchical, but the reality, when you're not clear and disciplined organizationally, you end up spending a lot of time internally in debates and rework. And that is time you're not spending winning with customers and shoppers and against competition. So it's a waste of resources. And that is why organizational discipline is very important. So that was on discipline. The second thing I strongly believe in is learning. Learning has always been important, but now it's more important than ever. The world is changing very fast. The face of the consumer is changing very fast. You know, you're having emerging middle classes in many parts of the world, women having a more and more prominent role in the household. You're having lots of changes. The shopping industry is changing a lot. Online is taking a big role. In the developed world, malls are declining. In the emerging markets, malls are increasing. So the landscape is changing very quickly. So if we're not able to learn in real time and translate these learnings into business solutions, we will not win. And we all know what Darwin said about the survival of the fittest, but the reality is if you don't learn, you won't be able to survive because you won't be equipped to adapt. So that was on learning. The third one is on collaboration. That is an interesting one. In most organizations, people think collaboration is being good friends and being in harmony together. And I've seen organizations where people are friends and polite and warm, and they go out, have a beer together Friday afternoon, but they didn't collaborate. And this is a different notion. Now, don't get me wrong, it's great to get along and have fun together. It's fantastic, and we have to do that if we can. But the reality, working together is about working together. It's about trust. It's about intellectual humility. It's about saying to yourself, I don't know everything. And Chiara knows about interviewing more than I do, for example, so let me work with Chiara. And that is the essence of collaboration. And the world is becoming more complex. You know, technology, IT, design, marketing, everybody cannot know everything. If you step back and you look at the collective experience of Bata people, I counted about 1 million years. That's a lot of experience. So by collaboration, you can put it to use. And this is why I believe in collaboration. And the last one, as an Italian, you might be sensitive to it. I believe in style. I believe in style. And it's not an obvious one to say, because the world is not anymore, people don't buy shoes to avoid being naked anymore. So the alternative of not buying Bata shoes is not walking barefooted. So today people have choice and have options and have the money in most parts of the world not to be barefooted, okay? So today people buy shoes for reasons sometimes of necessity, but in the great majority of instances it's because it makes them feel good, makes them look good, you know, it gives them self-confidence. So they buy them because they're stylish, because they're cool, in addition to being comfortable, of course. But that element of being stylish and being cool is important because choice is enormous. And if we don't get an equation of design and style right, which is reasonably contemporary and that people really want to buy, we're not going to be successful down the road. And style is not only in the design of shoes, it's also in the design of the shopping experience. What makes the difference between an inspiring and exciting shopping experience and just a place that stocks shoes? It makes a huge difference. There are places people enjoy going to because there is an ambiance, there is it's a visually pleasing environment, it's comforting, it's different. And we've got to create that kind of feeling. And style is talent in a way, but you know what? I think style can be developed. People can become more stylish over time, but you have to be conscious of it. If every day you dress and you couldn't care about how you dress, and you don't care about how your environment look like, and you don't care about this, and you don't care about that, how are you going to have the eye for what is really appealing and attractive and elegant? It's practice like in everything. You know, if you think, for example, something basic, you say to yourself, that kind of tie doesn't fit me, right? You needed to have thought about it. Many people don't even think about that, right? So it's all a question of being conscious of it and practicing it, because style is important and style can be nurtured. So these were my 4 beliefs.
Thank you for sharing. It was very, very interesting. So the last question I want to ask to you is, what are your priorities?
Thank you, because that's really important, and I'm very public about my priorities. I don't hide them. I think everybody should know what they are. The first priority is delivering the results for 2016. It is important that we be in a winning mode and that we demonstrate to the world that we can achieve results. And I'm going to be all over this. The second one is evolving the strategy of the company. And strategy in a sense of what is our vision, starting with the point, why does the world need Bata? I think we need to be able to answer that question. What are we bringing to consumers? What are we bringing to the world? And what makes us unique in bringing it? Under that, you will have choices, where to play, how to win, and be very clear about these choices. But also, these choices need to be right. Because, you know, driving a car straight into a wall is a very clear strategy, but it's not a good one. So clarity is important, but substance is equally as important. So the strategy is going to be a very important priority. And my third priority is my team. We need to develop an executive committee in the company that is really a government of the company. I'm not a solo leader. I'm not the kind of CEO who travels around with a little suitcase, throws wisdom at the countries, and then goes back to his own. That's not how I work. I work with people. And it's important for me to develop and design an executive committee with whom I will work, and we will deal with leading and managing the company down the road. And we are going to do that relatively quickly.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, Chiara.